Autumn in Portland is always cool, with layers of maple leaves decorating the city in a colorful way. In a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of town, Sophia Grace and Christopher James' house is tucked away behind a row of tall oak trees. This small two-story building with a white fence is where they built their dreams. Sophia Grace is a pediatric nurse at the local children's hospital, while Christopher James works as an engineer at a construction firm. They were all looking forward to having a complete home, but after 2 years of waiting, there was no good news. Every time she sees a newborn in the hospital, Sophia Grace involuntarily strokes her abdomen, and a hint of loneliness flashes in her eyes. It was an ordinary weekday morning, and Sophia Grace was doing her rounds in the children's ward as usual. Suddenly, a phone call changed her peaceful life. On the other end of the phone, the adoption center staff said in a hurried tone, "Ms. Sophia Grace, there is a special situation. We would like to know if you and Mr. Christopher James would like to meet." Sophia Grace's hand holding the earpiece trembled slightly. As a pediatric nurse, she knows all too well what special circumstances mean. But for some reason, her heartbeat increased uncontrollably. "Of course, we can do it at any time," she heard herself. It was a sunny morning, and the morning dew was still hanging on the blades of grass in the backyard, reflecting the tiny light. Sophia Grace walks out to the backyard with a steaming coffee cup, ready for a rare moment of relaxation. Suddenly, a slight rustling sound caught her attention. In the corner of the yard, beside the bushes, a ball of golden fur was shivering. Sophia Grace approached with a light step, and then she realized that it was a little golden retriever. It curled up, its fur wet and dirty, tangled in clumps, but its eyes glinted with fear and anticipation. Seeing Sophia Grace approaching, the puppy instinctively shrank back, but couldn't help but wagging its tail, as if hesitating to run away or believe the person in front of him. "Oh my God, you poor little fellow," Sophia Grace crouched down in distress and whispered softly. As a nurse, she has a natural compassion for life, let alone such a small life that has obviously suffered from wind and frost. She slowly reached out with her palms up so that the puppy could smell her. That night, Sophia Grace and Christopher James sat in the warm living room. The little golden retriever had washed her hair and was lying quietly in the corner. "How about we call it Max?" Sophia Grace whispered. "Its eyes reminded me of my grandfather, Max, so gentle, so full of wisdom." Christopher James looked at his wife's expectant eyes and then at the puppy in the corner. Max seemed to understand their conversation and looked up at them with those caramel eyes. There was so much in that look, loneliness, anticipation, and a subtle hint of loyalty. "Well," said Christopher James with a smile, "maybe that's what God has arranged. While we were waiting for our own child, we brought this little guy first." Sophia Grace hugged her husband excitedly, while Max wagged her tail softly, as if happy that she had finally found a home. Just 3 months after adopting Max, Sophia Grace found out she was pregnant. The news came so suddenly, but it was just right. Max also seemed to feel the joy of his masters, and circled around Sophia Grace all day, especially when she was home alone. During pregnancy, Sophia Grace used to sit in a rocking chair in the backyard, caressing her bulging belly, while Max lay at her feet, her blonde hair glistening in the sun. Sometimes, Max would gently rest his head on her stomach, as if listening to the heartbeat of the new life within. However, at the 32nd week of pregnancy, Sophia Grace suddenly developed complications. It was a stormy night, and Christopher James drove her to the hospital. Max stood in the doorway and let out an anxious whimper as they left, as if he had a premonition of something. After 12 long hours, their son, Aiden, finally came into the world. However, the atmosphere in the delivery room was unusually solemn. Doctors found that the baby's condition was not ideal and needed to be checked immediately. The results of the examination revealed that Aiden had polio, a condition that left his legs paralyzed. The news is devastating for new parents. But they decided not to give up and to give Aiden the best possible life. The first week back home with Aiden was the hardest. Sophia Grace is a nurse, but when it comes to her own children, all her expertise doesn't seem to be enough. She must learn how to carefully pick up a baby who can't move, how to roll him over to prevent bedsores, how to massage him without hurting him. Max has shown surprising sensitivity during this time. Whenever Aiden cries, he will run to the baby's room as soon as possible and gently touch the baby's little hand with his wet nose until he calms down. Gradually, Aiden begins to recognize Max's presence, and whenever the golden retriever is in sight, the little one smiles innocently. Over time, a special bond has developed between Max and Aiden. Every morning, when the first rays of sunlight shine through the curtains, Max gently pushes open the hidden nursery door to check that the little master is okay. It will lie on its stomach at the side of the crib for the whole day and will only leave when it needs to go out for convenience or eat. Sophia Grace often finds Max using her furry body as Aiden's cushion when she's busy in the kitchen. Sometimes, he will take his favorite toy and place it carefully next to the baby, as if to say, "These are yours, little master." The late-night nursery is shrouded in soft starlight, and the baby monitor emits a slight white noise. Max, as usual, lay alertly in the hallway, his golden eyes twinkling in the darkness. As the faithful guardian of this home, it has long developed the habit of patrolling at night. Suddenly, there was a barely audible sound of fabric rubbing, followed by a slight thump. Max's ears instantly erected, and the muscles in his whole body tensed. It jerked to its feet, its heart racing, some instinct driving it towards Aiden's room. Pushing open the hidden door, Max's heart tightened at the sight in front of him. The moonlight spilled in through the cracks in the curtains, illuminating a shocking scene. Aiden's tiny body was hanging from the edge of the crib at a dangerous angle. His upper body was still on the bed, but his lower body had slipped out of the gap in the guardrail, and his little head had almost touched the floor. Unable to exert his strength in his paralyzed legs, he was completely immobile, hanging like a fragile leaf in the wind. Max could hear Aiden's rapid breathing, and the baby seemed frightened by the unusual position, but could not cry. Time seemed to freeze at this moment, and Max knew that if Aiden slipped completely and his fragile head hit the ground, the consequences would be dire. A hint of human determination flashed in the golden retriever's eyes. It cautiously approached the crib, taking every step with extreme caution, for fear that its movements would accelerate Aiden's slide. Max first pads his furry body under Aiden's head to ensure that even if something happens, he can protect the parts that matter most. Then, it stretched out its wet nose and gently pressed it against Aiden's shoulder. This movement must be both forceful and not too rushed. Max could feel the baby's weight as he held his breath and slowly, little by little, using the combination of his nose and front paws, to push Aiden towards the bed. Max let out a slight whimper, as if to soothe a frightened baby. Finally, after what seemed like a long few tens of seconds, Aiden's body was completely back in a safe position on the bed. The little guy seemed to realize what was happening, reaching out and grabbing Max's hair tightly. Just then, Christopher James, who was awakened by the silence, rushed into the room and saw the heartwarming and thrilling scene. Their faithful Max was guarding their little angel, and Aiden was holding on to Max's hair unharmed, as if he had found the safest harbor. After this night, Max's status at home changed subtly. It is no longer just an adopted stray dog, but has become an indispensable guardian of the family. Sophia Grace has prepared a comfortable cushion for Max in the nursery so that he can better protect the safety of his little owner. As Aiden grew older, he began a difficult rehab training. Physiotherapy 3 times a week can be a huge challenge for a toddler. However, Max was always there for him, supporting him in his own way. When Aiden cries in pain, Max gently rubs his head against his hand or puts his favorite tennis ball within reach of him to encourage him to stretch his arms. On a particularly difficult day of treatment, 4-year-old Aiden was on the verge of giving up. He lay on the training mat and tears kept streaming down his face. Max suddenly picked up a small leather ball and placed it a few inches away from Aiden, then took a few steps back and looked at him expectantly. Aiden wiped away her tears and struggled to reach forward. In this way, under Max's guidance, he completed the most difficult training program of the day. The physiotherapist was surprised to find that Aiden's training was better when Max was present. So, they began to include Max in their formal rehabilitation program. Not only was he Aiden's playmate, but he also became his assistant and motivator on the road to recovery. Over time, Aiden's upper body strength gradually increased. Although he is still unable to walk unaided, he is already proficient in using a wheelchair. Whenever he wants to go to the backyard to play, Max stays by his wheelchair to keep him safe. If the wheelchair gets stuck on the grass, Max will immediately push the wheelchair firmly to help Aiden get out. The neighbors in the community were impressed by this special pair of friends. The children no longer look at Aiden in a wheelchair with strange eyes, but envy him for having such a great dog friend. Gradually, their backyard became the children's favorite meeting place, and Max became the pistachio for all the children. On Aiden's 6th birthday, Sophia Grace and Christopher James prepared an exclusive badge for Max with the inscription, "Most Loyal Guardian." When Aiden hung the medal around Max's neck, the golden retriever straightened his chest proudly, as if he understood the weight of the honor. Doctors say that while Aiden may never be able to run like a normal child, his recovery has progressed far better than expected thanks to Max's company and encouragement. For Sophia Grace and Christopher James, they were convinced that it was that fateful morning, when they decided to adopt the stray dog, that heaven had already arranged the perfect guardian angel for their family. Now, whenever the moonlight spills into the nursery, one can still see Max alert. It guards the sleeping Aiden like the most precious treasure of this home. This story teaches us that sometimes, the best miracles in life often come from the most unexpected places, and true love always transcends the boundaries of language and form. In the spring of Aiden's 7-year-old year, an unexpected change quietly occurred. It was a sunny afternoon, and Max was playing in the backyard with Aiden as usual. Suddenly, a colorful butterfly flew by, making a graceful arc in the air. Aiden excitedly wanted to chase after him, and unconsciously leaned out of his wheelchair and leaned forward with an unsteady center of gravity. Just when everyone thought he was going to fall, Aiden's hands were on the ground, and his right leg, the leg that had been unable to move for years, twitched slightly. This subtle change did not escape Max's eyes, and the golden retriever immediately barked with excitement, attracting Sophia Grace, who was busy in the kitchen. "Mom! I feel it!" Aiden exclaimed excitedly, tears rolling in his eyes, "My leg, it's moving." Sophia Grace immediately knelt beside her son, stroking his legs with trembling hands. Max circled around them, tail wagging like a propeller, seemingly ecstatic at the discovery. This discovery brings new hope to the whole family. After a detailed examination, doctors found that some of Aiden's nerve tissue was slowly recovering. Although there is no guarantee that he will be able to walk again, this sign is undoubtedly a great encouragement to everyone. As a result, rehabilitation has become more intensive. Every morning, when the first rays of sunlight shine into the room, Max gently wakes Aiden up with a warm nose, as if to say, "Wake up, little master, a new day is about to start again." Then, it would stay at the mat and patiently watch Aiden do all the hard rehab moves. Sometimes, Aiden would want to give up because of the pain, but Max always had a way to keep him going. It will hold the training ball a little further away and then step back step by step, inducing Aiden to move forward. Gradually, Aiden found himself able to crawl farther and farther on the ground, and his leg muscles began to feel noticeable. Sophia Grace found that Max seemed to have a unique perception of Aiden's state. When Aiden is too tired, Max gently bites the corner of the physiotherapist's coat to signal that it's time to rest. And when Aiden is in good shape, it will encourage him to practice a little more in various ways. In the evening, Max would lie on Aiden's bedside and gently massage his aching legs. Its movements are gentle and precise, as if it was born with a natural knowledge of how to soothe pain. Sometimes, Aiden falls asleep during the massage, his little hands still clutching Max's hair and a serene smile on his face. Such days went on for almost a year. On the eve of Aiden's 8th birthday, a major breakthrough occurred. He was sitting on the grass in his backyard that day when Max suddenly grabbed his favorite toy dinosaur and placed it a few steps away from him. Maybe it was because he wanted to reach his favorite toy, or maybe it was because of Max's encouraging eyes. Aiden suddenly held himself up on the ground and slowly stood up. Although it was only a few seconds, at this moment, it was as if the whole world was quiet. Sophia Grace and Christopher James stood on the porch, watching in shock, tears streaming uncontrollably. Max stands beside Aiden, ready to catch the little master who might fall. Since that day, Aiden's path to recovery has taken a qualitative leap. He began to be able to walk in the backyard step by step with the help of a walker and with Max by his side. Every step is a small victory, and Max is always by his side with the most patient steps. People in the community often see such a warm picture, a brave little boy, holding a walker and struggling to move forward, next to a big golden dog. The pace of the little master perfectly matches the rhythm of the little master. If Aiden gets tired, Max immediately lies down and lets him rest on top of him. If he wanted to give up, Max would encourage him to keep moving forward with a warm look in his eyes. In Aiden's recovery diary, he writes crookedly, "Max is no ordinary dog, he is an angel sent from heaven. It taught me to never give up, and it made me believe in miracles." Max seems to understand his mission, and his loyalty and intelligence go far beyond the realm of ordinary pets. When night falls, Max routinely patrols the house to make sure his family is sleeping soundly. Finally, it gently pushes open Aiden's door and finds its place next to the bed. Moonlight shines through the window on its golden hair, gilding this warm picture with a soft glow. In this moment, love and hope are intertwined, creating the most beautiful miracle of life. The years passed quietly, and in the blink of an eye, Aiden was 12 years old. Over the years, with Max by his side, he has been able to walk short distances independently using crutches. And Max, the faithful guardian, is also gradually entering the twilight of his life. Its once shining golden fur began to turn white, and its steps were no longer vigorous, but its eyes full of wisdom still shone with a warm glow. Max now enjoys lying under an old oak tree in his backyard and watching Aiden practice walking. It can no longer run back and forth as it used to, but whenever Aiden needs help, it will immediately get up and rush to its owner with its own slightly faltering steps. Sometimes it whimpers softly because of joint pain, but whenever it sees Aiden's worried gaze, it punches its spirits and wagged its tail to indicate that it is okay. Sophia Grace noticed that Max was starting to rest more often and had a less appetite than before. She took Max for a full checkup, and the doctor said it was a normal sign of aging and suggested that it be made more comfortable. However, Max seems determined to continue his mission, and continues to accompany Aiden to and from school every day, albeit at a much slower pace. One afternoon, Aiden came home from school to find Max lying on the carpet in his room. Seeing its owner return, it wanted to stand up to greet it, but it barely succeeded after several attempts. At that moment, Aiden suddenly realized that his best friend was really old. He put down his bag and carefully sat down next to Max, gently stroking its head. "Max, I'll take care of you this time," Aiden said, his voice choked up. He started massaging Max's joints every day, just like Max had done for him. He would keep Max's favorite toy next to his bed and make sure it was always available. Even when he was doing physical therapy, he would deliberately practice where Max could see to make his old friends feel his progress. On weekends, the whole family takes Max to the lake for a picnic. Although it can no longer frolic in the water like it used to, lying on a soft blanket and watching Aiden slowly move around the shore seems to be its greatest enjoyment. Sometimes, it rests its head gently on Aiden's lap and squints into the sun, its golden eyelashes fluttering in the breeze. It was a quiet autumn morning, and the maple leaves were beginning to turn red. Max lay on Aiden's bedside as usual, but this time, he didn't wake his owner with his wet nose when the alarm went off. When Aiden wakes up, he finds Max lying there quietly, as if in a deep sleep. "Max!" Aiden called softly, reaching out to stroke its head. Max's body was still warm, but he didn't have the usual reactions. 13-year-old Aiden understood something at that moment, and tears welled up uncontrollably in his eyes. He leaned down and buried his face in Max's soft hair, feeling the last of the warmth. Sophia Grace and Christopher James arrived to find their son hugging Max. Max's expression was serene, as if he had fallen asleep, and there seemed to be a smile on his lips. It chose to complete the final protection by Aiden's side, saying goodbye in the gentlest way possible. "Mom, did Max go to heaven?" Aiden asked, sobbing. Sophia Grace put her arm around her son's shoulders and whispered, "Yes, dear. Max must be running on the meadows of heaven right now, and it will always watch over you and be proud of your every progress." The family decided to hold a little farewell ceremony for Max under the old oak tree in the backyard. The tree has witnessed countless heartwarming moments between Max and Aiden. They buried Max under the tree, and Aiden set aside his favorite tennis ball and collar. The neighbors also came to the farewell ceremony, and each brought a flower to tell the fond memories Max brought to them. Aiden read the letter he wrote to Max in a trembling voice. "Dear Max, thank you for your company over the years. It was you who taught me to never give up, and it was you who gave me courage and strength. You're not just my dog, you're my best friend, my guardian angel. I promise you that I will continue to work hard so that you can be proud of me in heaven as well." In the days when Max was lost, Aiden often thought about it. Whenever he felt tired during his rehabilitation, it was as if he could see Max's encouraging eyes. He keeps Max's picture at the head of his bed, which makes him feel like his beloved partner never really leaves. Gradually, Aiden learns to miss Max in another way. He began volunteering at a local animal shelter, helping to care for stray animals in need. He often tells Max's story to other children, telling them that love and loyalty can work wonders. In Aiden's room, the carpet where Max once lay still remains. Sometimes, when the moonlight shone through the window on the carpet, Aiden felt as if he saw the golden figure again, still guarding him, just like that early morning all those years ago. By the time he graduated from high school, Aiden was able to walk considerable distances independently. Although his pace is not completely smooth, it does not affect his determination to chase his dreams in the slightest. When it came time to fill out his university application, he did not hesitate to choose a major in physical therapy. "I want to be a child rehabilitation therapist," Aiden says to parents, "and just like Max once helped me, I want to help other children find hope." Sophia Grace and Christopher James looked at their son's determined gaze, as if they had seen Max's persistent gaze again. During his university years, Aiden not only focused on his professional courses, but also studied animal-assisted therapy in particular. He is convinced that the company of animals can bring unique healing powers to patients. In his dissertation, he documented in detail Max's journey with him throughout his rehabilitation, a study that would later become an important reference in the field of children's rehabilitation. After graduating, Aiden found a job at a children's rehabilitation center. He has pictures of Max hanging in his office, and whenever a minor patient is depressed, he tells the story of himself and Max. Gradually, his approach to therapy gained a unique reputation. He was not only proficient in his technical skills, but also knew how to arouse the inner strength of children. At the rehabilitation center, Aiden has pioneered an innovative program to introduce trained therapy dogs into the rehabilitation process. He remembers how Max used simple games to motivate himself, so he devised similar interactions. Watching the children gradually regain their confidence in the company of therapy dogs, his eyes always glistened with tears of relief. One particularly memorable case for him was a little girl named Lily, who lost the ability to walk due to a car accident. When she first came to the rehab center, she completely closed herself off. Aiden showed her pictures of Max, recounted her experiences, and brought a golden retriever therapy dog to keep her company. Slowly, Lily began to smile and was willing to try to stand. "Max taught me that hope doesn't go away, it just comes in a different way," Aiden often tells his patients. "Sometimes, all we need is a friend who believes in us." On his desk, there has always been a picture frame with a photo of him and Max as a child. The golden retriever in the photo has a gentle gaze, while the little boy is smiling brightly. Whenever he encounters a difficult case, he looks at the picture as if he can hear Max saying, "Don't give up, keep trying." Years later, Aiden not only became the director of the rehabilitation center, but also founded a foundation named Max to help children with disabilities from poor families receive rehabilitation treatment. The emblem of the foundation is a golden angel dog, the best memorial to Max. Every fall, when the maple leaves begin to turn red, Aiden returns to his hometown and sits under that old oak tree for a while. The place where Max was buried under the tree is now overgrown with wildflowers. He would whisper to Max about what had happened during the year and share the story of every child who was healed. Sometimes, a gentle rustle of the breeze through the treetops seemed to be Max's response. Aiden knows that Max's spirit lives forever on every child he helps, in every smile that regains hope, and in every story of overcoming difficulties. This is Max's most precious gift to the world, the courage to never give up, and unconditional love and hope.